Welcome to episode number 356 of the Beyond Social Media Show, the podcast for all of you marketing, advertising, public relations, and communications professionals. You can find us by searching Beyond Social Media Show. We are recording on July 17, 2021. A ton of things to talk about this week, including dancing in the streets, seller ratings in search, Twitter NFTs, Kindle Vela, targeted tweets, real ads, welcome email, Facebook Hearts creators, athlete influencers, Cuban spaces, porno DiGiorno, You're Fired bot, Lego Glock, packaging email, and Clubhouse stats that you want to stick around for the first in-depth look at Clubhouse users at the end of the show. But we kick it off with the best story of the week, and BL, you always have that honor. What do you got?
This was an only in New York story. And for those of you who don't know who ImprovEverywhere is, it's a group that puts on these really fabulous, spontaneous appearing. They appear to be spontaneous, but they produce these spontaneous looking events. So the other day, they had a dance party, and it's part of the marketing of, they teamed up with the Museum of the City of New York, which has a new exhibition of New York music from 1980 to 1986. So there is a part of Central Park that's known as Grand Army Plaza. It's sort of a big open space, and they put down a circle that looks exactly like the social distance circles that you see everywhere, but this one said, stand here for dance party. And so a lot of people came up and they looked at it. People took pictures of it. People walked around it. People smiled. And then this woman came and stood on it. And she was like an older person. She came and stood on it, and all of a sudden, out comes out comes a guy with a boombox, an 80s boombox, and they were pretty soon she's surrounded by 100-person dance party, and it had a b-boy dance crew and the vintage 80s clothing. And so how they did this was, and they point out that everybody in the cast and crew was fully vaccinated for COVID-19 because they're smart. And they reached out to their New York City mailing list, said, I'm on. I don't know how I missed this. And they recruited about 100 participants for the mission. And for many people, as it would have been for me, the first large public gathering in a long time. And so a lot of people walked by it without noticing, or just assuming that it was, some sticker. But the people who stopped and looked at it, all of a sudden, and stood on it, out comes Victor Kid Glide Alicia and his crew, the Dynamic Rockers, and they came dancing to this genuine 80s music. And the party was staged 8 times over the course of about an hour and a half, and the crew rested in between and let the crowd turn over, and then they did it again. And this is the kind of thing that can only happen in a big city, because there's that kind of crowd all the time. But it was big fun, and I missed it.
I didn't miss it. I saw it online. I saw the video of it. I didn't realize it was that, but it looked pretty awesome. I am a big fan.
Video and being there is 2 different things.
True that. I have not been in the middle of a improv everywhere. Let me rephrase that. I have never been in the middle of an improv everywhere gathering anywhere. So.
I was in one time in Grand Central Station that was really very cool. But yeah, this was very cool.
Awesome. This is pretty awesome too, I think. Search Engine Journal's Matthew Southern reports that Google is testing star ratings to be shown in the search engine results pages for sellers, for online sellers. It is based on the websites for the sellers, the website sellers rating in Google Merchant Center. So Google Merchant Center is where e-commerce outfits can list their inventory, basically. The seller ratings are already a feature of Google's paid ads, but it looks like they're testing them in organic search as well. you can have if you're a seller, you can have ratings even if you don't buy Google Ads. So the results may be based on one or more of the following kind of sources: Google Customer Reviews, which is a program that collects post-purchase reviews on behalf of merchants who are using the Google Merchant Center; aggregated performance metrics that Google researches; shopping reviews from your store domain, which can include third-party sources, as well as users of Google. And so any retailer who has a product feed that they've uploaded to Google Merchant Center, it's basically an XML file with your inventory, have the potential of having a seller rating. You can check your seller rating. There's a URL that you can use to check your seller rating by basically appending your domain name to the end of the URL. Put a link to that in the show notes, as well as some screenshots of what the searches look like, what the reviews look like in search results.
That's very interesting. And it sounds harder to manipulate than, let's say, some of the things that allow people to make ratings. So that
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's good for users, and for good merchants. It's good for merchants as well. Build up your reputation. Sell a good product at a reasonable price and have good customer service and all that. You'll benefit from it.
So this week, by the way, is the 15th anniversary of Twitter. I think it was on the 15th of July. But anyhow, Twitter announced that it's minting NFTs, and they posted 140 free NFTs for 140 of you besties, and that was a nod to the initial better 140 character Twitter limit, but you can't buy them. At least you can't buy them yet. This is from a TechCrunch story by Amanda Silbering, and it was on June 30th. There was a tweet that got 47,000 plus responses and more than 18,000 retweets, and the catch was that nobody could buy them. Twitter users could reply to the tweet for the chance to get one of the NFTs that were minted on Rarible, which is an NFT marketplace, in addition of 20s, which means that there were 140 NFTs total. So there were over 29 million tweets on the platform about NFTs. And the question is, what's next for NFTs on Twitter? They said, we're not sure, but with Twitter's rapid development of new features like spaces, super follows, Twitter Blue, and more, it's possible this won't be the last we hear about Twitter's foray into crypto-powered collectibles. So, everybody's in on it, including Twitter. And Twitter is really the leading space for information about crypto, besides probably Clubhouse, but you'll talk about that later.
Yeah, not about crypto and Clubhouse, but we'll talk about Clubhouse later. So Twitter's giving away NFTs. You have to reply to get one, but what are you getting?
You're getting one of the visuals. There's 7 visuals that are minted as NFTs, and if you were one of the people, which I wasn't, so I don't know what you get exactly, but you get to own an NFT. I mean, I own basically mostly because people have given them to me. I own several NFTs, and my friend Francine Hardaway started one. I wanted to support her, so I put $10 into it, just to kind of see what would happen. And somehow or another, I have like $2,600 worth of NFTs that have been given to me because people, when they get them, and I do think we should get one for the show, when people get them, they tend to give them away to kind of spread the word about them.
All right, well, I'll let you work on that. So you're getting a graphic file from Twitter for their
Basically,
NFT?
that's what they are, yeah.
Okay.
And now there are exchanges for them. A site just launched called Nifty's, and the one that they launched this on, there are sites that are showcases now for NFTs. And, it's just a trend that's growing hugely.
Okay. I'll just, yeah.
It is going to have a very big impact on marketing as we go forward, which is why I'm so fascinated by it, because this is going to change the way that brands do their marketing.
Okay, I can see some applications for them and everything, but the hype cycle is getting a little out of hand.
Yeah, it's getting ridiculous.
So Amazon has a new, I guess, a new version of Kindle, but it's not the hardware. It's a platform, basically. This is from Google e-readers, Michael Kozlowski. So Amazon Kindle Vela is what it's called. It's a new serialized fiction platform. So authors can publish their stories on a weekly basis, back like David Copperfield was published serialized. Dickens was, famous for being very wordy, getting paid for by the word. But those back in the day, they used to serialize novels. So this is kind of a throwback that way. Readers can spend credit. You can buy credits to support your authors. And authors will receive 50% of the credit value that supporters send to them. So it's a potential revenue stream for authors. You can read it on you can read them on the Amazon website and the Kindle app for iOS, but not on Kindle e-readers, which is strange.
Makes no sense at all.
Right. So the stories will be the serialized episodes basically will be between 600 and 5,000 words at a time. The tokens that readers can buy for $1.99 will get you 200 tokens. $14.99 will get you 1,700 tokens, which is amounts to about 34 episodes. The platform will have social component. Readers can talk to the authors. Readers can use thumbs up for an episode they like once a week. Readers who have bought tokens will get a fave to award the story they enjoyed the most that week, and then Amazon will use those. Will feature stories with the most faves in the Kindle Vela store. So I think it's interesting. It's potentially good and potentially bad. I mean, another opportunity for authors of fiction to find audience and potentially earn some revenue. But the social features of thumbs up and faves and everything have the potential. I mean, shouldn't fiction writers just write what's in their imagination without worrying about whether they're going to be, get that many thumbs up and that many faves? And are they going to then be writing to the least common denominator, to the most popular thing, rather than where their imagination takes them? So in that way, I kind of see it as a downside.
Well, I don't know. Is that much different than podcasts? It sounds to me like a written version of podcasts, where if it's episodic and people are basically going to vote on it by reading it, it kind of sounds like a version of podcasting.
No,
and you do have to write to what people want, otherwise your book won't sell.
No. So this is fiction. It's not nonfiction, it's fiction. So podcasts are mostly nonfiction. And so, yeah, you have to pay attention to what people want. But if it's fiction and you're reacting while you're writing is the point. I mean, as you're writing the thing, you're serializing it, you're reacting to, well, they didn't like that last episode, so maybe I should change this or this or that, rather than what you have as a vision of your story from the beginning. So
we're going to see what happens.
We will.
Yeah. So Twitter's testing some new conversational features that make it sound like Google Plus to me. This is from a Social Media Today article by Andrew Hutchinson, and he and I had a conversation about that, and he said, yeah, I should have pointed that out in the article. They're working on a new option that lets you share tweets with selected audiences, so as opposed to all your followers. And the idea is that it will help users get more out of their Twitter experience and avoid them having to create separate accounts for different audiences and interests, which is what some people do now. So it Twitter posted, everyone to tweet, but not to everybody. We're exploring a bunch of ways to control who can see your tweets. So they're looking at a trusted friends tool that would enable messaging for specific groups, a reply language prompts that allow users to try to limit words and phrases they prefer not to read in replies, and facets to post as different personas tied to one account. So if you're tweeting about, your kid's soccer, you would have your parent persona perhaps. And if you're tweeting about business, you'd have your business persona all within one account. They're seeking public feedback on these features. So I'll have a link to where you can leave your feedback. So it just sounds to me exactly like Google Plus was, and that was one of the better things about Google Plus, which was that you could segment who saw your content. And it's just part of the homogenization of social media. It's all, anytime anybody adds a feature, next week Facebook will do it.
I've wanted this feature since since lists. Since they created lists. I don't know why we can't tweet to one of our lists.
I have no idea why they don't let you do that. That is the stupidest thing. Why have a list if you can't tweet to it?
Well, I mean, it's great for following stuff, to segment your followers and to segment people you follow and get that kind of content.
Yes, but you should be able to interact.
And that sounds like what they're doing is really complicated, where all they need to do is let you tweet to a list of your own.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's what Twitter does, make things complicated, and then they, get feedback, and usually they'll change it. So we'll see. And they got rid of fleets this week, because that was another thing that nobody wanted. Like, what was the point of that? Why would you want your tweets to disappear? So
because
anyway.
Everybody has stories, so they have to have stories too. But clearly that was I didn't think that was going to work anyway. So
no, me either.
Well, Instagram. So CNBC's Megan Graham reports that Instagram is introducing ads for Reels for their TikTok clone. So the ads for Reels will be full screen and vertical and appear between individual posts, and they'll be up to 30 seconds long and will run in a loop. So look for those. More ad inventory, I guess, video stuff. Good.
So I today got the best subscription email welcome that I've ever had. It came from I subscribe to Business Insider, and the email that you get, I got a $1 trial subscription to see if I want to pay for it on a monthly basis. And so it said, thank you for subscribing to Insider. You can now access your account across all of your devices. We want to welcome you and introduce you to a few of our reporters. And then there are several reporters with their pictures, and it says, what they write about. It lists a tech, investing, future of TV, and finance reporter, has their photos, and then it has a link to their latest scoops. And it gets you right into the content. It personalizes it, and personalizes the reporting, and it demonstrates why this subscription is worthwhile. And it is just so really well done. It said, hi BL, it was personalized, it was perfect. So I have a picture of it.
Great. I'm going to totally steal that idea.
Yeah.
That's absolutely great.
It's the best I've ever seen.
Wow. Oh, that's good. This is also good, I think. And I'm talking about Facebook here, so that's pretty impressive. This is from a PC Magazine, Stephanie Blott, who reports on Facebook's launch of Bulletin, which is their newsletter feature. Yeah. And so they have partnered with high name recognition individuals, including Malcolm Gladwell, sportscaster Aaron Andrews, author Mitch Albom, TV personality Tan France, who I have no idea who that is. Do you know who that is?
No idea.
Okay, all right. So most of them are well known anyway. Bulletin.
To someone.
Yeah. Bulletin is the name of the newsletter. It provides users with a standalone website. You can customize your brand name, logo, your color palette. There's multimedia embeds and other styling options. Writers will be able to build their audience with like exclusive content, so you can have subscription-based exclusive content, commenting abilities, and access to private Facebook groups and live audio rooms. So they are tying the newsletter together with private Facebook groups. Makes a lot of sense. But then live audio rooms as well. So this is their Clubhouse knockoff version. This is the interesting part. Bulletin writers will be able to keep all subscription revenue for the length of the partnership. They'll be able to take their patron lists and content when they move off the platform. So the fact that Facebook is not taking a cut of the revenue here is interesting to me. And I think what it tells you is that this is a reaction to Apple's crackdown on data sharing from their mobile devices. So because Facebook's lifeblood, because the way they make money is collecting data on people, and Facebook is and Apple is cutting off a huge pipeline of that data from their mobile apps, that they want to have content creators creating content on platform so that the people who are interacting with that content are creating data that they can then use as inventory for advertising. So what Facebook wants now is for people to engage with content, all kinds of content, as much content as possible on Facebook, so that they can collect the data that's missing from their that they were getting from Apple devices.
Well, Facebook's dead to me, so I mean, but so Substack writers use Discord for their private conversations with their readers, and I don't want to give Facebook any more of my data. I really don't. So I'm over Facebook. I'm done with it. I understand you like it for advertising, but
well, I mean, if you want to ignore the largest social platform, I guess. I mean, I've got problems with Facebook as well, but good luck with it, I guess.
Yeah, well, yeah, good luck to you. Okay, so are we on to bad news? I thought that was bad news. No, you have more?
No, I got more. This is Associated Press. So the ruling by the Supreme Court regarding the NCAA and amateur athletes being able to make money, basically. This is a result of that. There's state laws that are going to go into effect that allow college athletes to be paid for endorsements, sponsorship deals, personal appearances, and everything. There's a company called Open Doors, which has created a deal with Twitter to give college athletes the opportunity to start earning money for the content that they create. There are schools that are in partnership with this company, Open Doors, Nebraska, Texas, Ohio State, LSU, Indiana, BYU, and they also have partnerships with the professional players associations, including NBA, the NFL, NHL, and Major League Baseball. So this is the beginning of a new kind of influencer, the amateur college athlete influencer, and look out. So it's another big opportunity for influencer marketers. And then I've got another one. Cuba is in the news. This is something I've been meaning to talk about since April. So it's an article from April, but with Cuba in the news now, it's more relevant with all the demonstrations that are taking place in Cuba. There's a Slate article by John Skeladarius. I probably messed that up, Skeladarius. About Cubans, young Cubans slipping past the censorship regime in Cuba to tune into This Week in Cuba, which is a Twitter Spaces live audio chat room where there's activists and social media influencers that are discussing politics and current events in Cuba. So they're using this to get past the censors, because there's not really one central place of failure where the Cuban regime can shut down the conversation. The article goes into much more depth. We'll put a link to it in the show notes, but I just found it interesting. Wanted to bring it up.
That's really interesting, but I do think I read that they've cut off the internet. And
well, this is not the internet. It's the phone system, right? because people are calling in from their phone.
Okay, but if it's on Twitter, don't they have to have access to Twitter?
Well, they're not going to shut down Twitter because there's too much. I mean, shutting down Twitter would cause them even more problems. So that's what the article argues anyway. So apparently Twitter is not shut down in Cuba.
My understanding is the internet is shut down. That's what happened in the past week. That's one of
the past week.
issues.
Okay, so
Yeah.
So then that's entirely likely.
Yeah.
I assume you're correct. This is from an article in April, and this is probably, the Twitter Spaces conversations or This Week in Cuba show had a hand in what we're seeing now.
I would guess, yeah, and what's going on in Miami as well.
Yeah.
So all over Florida. So that brings us to bad news, and this is really just silly news. On July 14th, DiGiorno Pizza took to Twitter to solicit a new slogan. Hey, what could go wrong? So on July 14th, they said, help give us a new slogan. So DiGiorno goes great with porno is probably not what the company had in mind. This is from Dave Mickelson at Snopes. Among my favorite responses, my friend David Berkowitz said, screw the slogan, launch a new cologne instead. Call it du jour. Make it smell like pizza. Get sued by the French. Sell a ton more pizza from all the free press. And then Dr. Linda Gurgis said, she suggested the pizza of the pandemic. And Stephen Frost was the one who said DiGiorno goes great with porno. And they went on.
No DiGiorno face?
No, there was,
Okay.
I didn't see that, but it did go on.
Yeah, I imagine. This is genuinely a bad story. This is from Bloomberg. Stephen Normandin was a contract driver for Amazon, and one day he received an automated email citing the algorithms tracking him, which decided that he wasn't doing his job properly, so he was fired by a machine, by a bot.
Oh, God.
So Normandin said that Amazon had punished him for things that are beyond his control, like locked apartment complexes, so he couldn't make the delivery, et cetera, et cetera. Put a link to the story in the show notes. But yeah, fired by bot is pretty bad. I thought getting
Horrible.
fired by a
God.
phone call was bad, but yeah, a bot is
or text. Yeah, that's pretty awful.
You got another one?
No, I don't.
I got plenty more, so let's go on. This is super fun. Culper Precisions this is from a Washington Post article by John Woodrow Cox. Culper Precision is a Utah company that makes custom modifications for firearms, and they released a new kit, modification kit for a firearm for Glock handguns in particular, that encases your Glock handgun in red, yellow, and blue Lego blocks. So it makes your Glock handgun look exactly like a child's toy. It's called Block19. It sells for $549 or $765, depending on the kit. The owner had been careful not to mention Lego by name on the website, but of course, Lego sent him a cease and desist letter, and turns out that was the backlash, the obvious and predictable backlash over such a thing was enough to cause them to stop sales, according to NPR's Bill Chappell. So they've halted sales, and the Danish toy maker asked them to remove the product, and they have done so. So yeah, how was that ever a good idea?
You just wonder, like, who was in that meeting where they came up with that idea, who said, yes, let's go with that. I mean,
well, it was the owner who was in the meeting.
Jeez.
I mean, so he went at length. We'll put a link to the articles in the show note. But he went at length to defend it and say why it wasn't such a big deal. And people, I mean, shooting is just fun, so why not make it fun with Legos?
Oh
'Cause,
God, yeah, and there's not enough children have been killed this week.
the point that a lot of
Ugh.
gun control advocates made. It's like children are killed by guns.
No. Guns don't kill people,
That's
they
right.
say. People kill.
Legos do.
Yeah, or whatever they say. Whatever they say makes no sense whatsoever.
So lastly on my worst list, I like tomatoes. I
Me
like
too.
grape tomatoes. I like cherry tomatoes. I buy the grape tomatoes in little plastic, containers and stuff. They're a nice little snack to eat. So I have a lot of them around, and I had bought this Paradise brand sweet grape tomatoes that I happened to notice them on the label on the packaging. There was an email address on the packaging, and which is, I mean, not that surprising, but you don't often see that, so I noticed it. But the email address was a Hotmail address. Who puts a Hotmail address on the
That's great.
Yeah, so.
That's hilarious. So does that bring us to smiles?
Yes.
I got a good one. Every year, Barack Obama, our president, he releases his summer reading list and his playlists, and so he did that this summer, and it's very eclectic. It's got a little bit of this and a little bit of that, and it makes me smile to know that he keeps up with current music, and that he shares something that's really very personal, what you're reading and what you're listening to, and I always check it out, so I'll have a link to it in the show notes.
It's always a good list. He's got great taste. Great taste.
Yeah, he does. He has wonderful taste. So that brings us to shiny new objects.
Yeah, it does. I have, this is really good. This is called, this is MediaManipulation.org. And so it is a Media Manipulation Casebook, is a digital research platform linking together theory, methods, and practice for mapping media manipulation and disinformation campaigns. It's intended for researchers, journalists, technologists, policymakers, educators, and civil society organizers who want to learn about detecting, documenting, describing, and debunking, I love the alliteration, misinformation. So great resource, and everybody in every communications professional should check it out.
Is it a subscription or is it free?
No, it's a website. It's free.
Oh, that's very cool.
Yeah.
So I came across the percentage calculator.
Oh yeah.
I mean, really, I don't know where it's been all my life. It calculates percentage 3 different ways, so I don't have to call my sister, the economist, and say, what's the percent? So it uses a simple, clean interface, and it lets you calculate what is X percent of a number, X is what percent of Y, and what is the percent change between X and Y. Something that I really just never learned in school. And here it is, the tool I needed all my life.
Yeah, I know. We people who go into marketing and public relations and advertising and stuff are language people. We read, we deal with language. We don't like the numbers, and but it's funny because now I'm about analytics all the time, so I'm deep in the numbers daily. But yeah, I will use those percentage calculators all the time when I'm doing monthly reports or weekly reports or whatever reports, or trying to find a So great resource.
It's a great one. I don't know how I didn't know about it before.
I think this is really cool. This is a quote Investigator. It's a website where it does what it says. It investigates quotes to find the source and origin of quotes that may be in dispute. So a lot of quotes you see, there's attributed to someone that they actually weren't who didn't say it. But I think a lot of Mark Twain quotes are misattributed to other people. So anyway, an example is the net interprets censorship as damage and routes around it. That's a quote that I've heard in various forms throughout, and it goes, so somebody submits the question, who does this attributed to? And I've always heard it was attributed to X. Is that true? And they do the investigation, run down the source of the quote and tell you what they find. And we'll put a link to this particular quote in the show notes so people can find out who said it. Somebody that you may be familiar with, BL.
Is that done with artificial intelligence, or is that
No,
a
it's
paid
people.
service?
It's people doing the research.
Them?
No, they just, I mean, you can submit the question. Whether they decide to use it or not is another question, but.
Oh, but that's a really good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is news from YouTube Shorts. It's now available worldwide. And you have to make sure you have the latest version of the YouTube mobile app, and then you can create a short by clicking on the create icon. I haven't tried it yet. You can use music, original audio from other videos, or record your own video up to 60 seconds. And you can pull together multiple video clips. And so I have both a video and an article from YouTube about how to do them. And that's something I want to learn.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's pretty easy to do. I tried it on, I didn't have access. They had like one video where you could try it on, and I tried it on that. And yeah, good. I will.
They just rolled it out this week.
Definitely be using that. I have a politics one. This is from The Daily Show, and they have a vaccination PSA that is in the form of a MyPillow guy infomercial. So they've got a guy who's got this big ass mustache, and it looks like a MyPillow commercial, but it's some guy talking about my vaccine rather than MyPillow. And it's the vaccine made for conservatives. So it's a lampoon of the MyPillow guy, but it's a clever PSA to try and get conservatives to get vaccinated. So we'll embed that in the show notes. And by the way, this made me think of, I went to Mall of America last week. We went to Mall of America, and there's a lot of people going to the mall these days. So there's a lot of people there. But at the mall, there is a MyPillow shop. MyPillow guy has a shop at the Mall of America. And I was surprised. I walked by it and flipped it off while I was walking by it. And then I had to say, no, not you, the MyPillow guy, because somebody was standing there while I was flipping him off. I felt so bad.
That's funny, Dave. It's a good way to get yourself beat up.
Yeah, right.
So, but anyway, basically this is a pro tip. Are you done with the shiny objects?
Yep.
So YouTube just launched within the past week or so automatic video chapters, and this is you can learn about it from YouTube creators. They've begun using machine learning to provide titles and timestamps on videos to create chapters which point to the topics within the videos, like we do on our channel, and like I've been teaching agencies to do. And you can opt out, I don't know why you would, but you can opt out of individual videos or your whole channel in settings, although that makes really no sense, because having the chapters and does help your SEO. So there's a Creators Insider channel, and it's not an official YouTube channel, but it's an informal experimental channel that shares information from the YouTube product management team. And so it features different people talking about the way products work and the changes they're making, so that they're trying to give YouTube creators more context. So you definitely should subscribe to the channel if you make videos, and you should definitely go learn about the chapter headings, because they result in search, and the way that these results show up in search is that you will see underneath the video, this video has, what do they call them, the titles? This has certain 7 points. What do they call them?
I can't remember.
Yeah, but it points out your set. You can click from the search results right into the segment of the video that you want to listen to. I don't know if they call them chief topics or there's a name for it, but anyway, it shows up in the actual YouTube, in the actual Google search results, and at the top, because Google is very favorable to video. So it's something that you definitely should take a look at, and I think it will be very helpful.
I wouldn't be surprised if those chapter headings in Google search results end up as answers to questions via Google Home smart speakers as well, because there's audio to play there from the video. So why not answer a question that somebody poses through a smart speaker with the expert who knows the answer in their own voice. So
that could be done with artificial intelligence.
Well, it can just be done by pulling the audio from a YouTube video too.
Mm-hmm.
So my pro tip, I've got two of them actually. I a couple of weeks ago attended a Meltwater webinar, and they had their confirmation page after you sign up register for the webinar, and they were giving away a Peloton. So on the confirmation page, there was a Peloton giveaway. And in order to have a chance at winning it, you would have to tweet or post on LinkedIn that you'd be attending the webinar. That's standard, a standard request for a webinar. Include the Meltwater handle, include the event hashtag, and a link to the registration page, and then attend to discover the winner. So you have to attend to discover whether you won or not. Which it's a good execution, a smart thing to do, and not everybody does it for their webinars, giving away something of real value and then asking for people to promote it in for a chance at winning that. So I thought it was clever. We'll put I've got a screenshot of the confirmation page.
Well, I'm sure you do this too. I sign up for webinars, but don't go to them live. I replay them afterwards. So I think they were trying to get you to attend live, which is really, which is really smart. And you would have to give me a big prize to get me to do that, because I want to be able to play it at, a time and a half at the end and jump to the parts that I'm interested in.
Exactly. Yep. My other one is from Litmus, which is the email marketing service. This is Chad S. White, who is the reporter on this, writes about Apple's crackdown on data sharing and their privacy position, blah blah blah. One of the effects of that is that anybody who is we talked about this in previous episode, anybody who is getting their email on their Apple device via the Apple email app that's going to screw up anybody of your email subscribers open rates, because everybody who subscribes to your newsletter, for example, using an Apple email app will be counted as an open. So you will have.
How are they going to do that?
They are prefetching every email content at the time of delivery. And they are not revealing the device and everything. So it's going to count as an open regardless of whether somebody opens it. So, your open times will be inaccurate. Your open rates will be inaccurate. And those aren't the greatest measure, but they are a measure to determine how successful you're being with your email marketing. So the pro tip from Litmus is create a segment of your subscribers, your email subscribers, who are known to use non-Apple email clients. And that way, at least you have a segment of data that can tell you an actual real open rate. So I thought that was a clever thing to do, and I'm going to follow that advice.
Interesting.
So let's get to the Clubhouse numbers.
Okie doke.
This is from Edison Research. Love Edison. They do fantastic audio research. Their infinite dial survey is fantastic. They've been doing it for years. They have comparison data, but this is Clubhouse users in America in particular. And so some of the highlights: 15% of social media users 18 plus say they have ever used Clubhouse. 44% of Clubhouse users say they use the service at least once a day, and 28% say they use it at least once per week. 66% of Clubhouse users are male. 56% are between 18 and 34. 42% are between 35 and 54, and 2% are older than 55 or 55 plus. 59% are white, 19% are Hispanic, Latino, and 17% are Black. So we'll put a link to the survey in the show notes so you can see more detail. I think they've got a webinar as well that we can embed for people to watch on their own time, of course.
Clubhouse has been losing people over the last few months, possibly because everything is sort of opening back up, although it appears we're headed for another shutdown, but at least in New York. But yeah, that's really interesting, and I still have very mixed feelings about Clubhouse. So you use it, Dave? How often are you in there?
Not often, but I mean, the reason they're losing subscribers is also because everyone and their mother has a Clubhouse clone. I mean, we should have a Clubhouse clone.
Yeah, right, and charge for it and get rich. So that brings us to the end of episode 356 of the Beyond Social Media Show. And you want to find us, you just search Beyond Social Media Show. Links to everything we talked about today will be on our blog, beyondsocialmediashow.com. And we hope you'll leave us a review on the site. Tell us what you think about it. And I'm here with the ever charming David Erickson, who's on Twitter as D Erickson, on Instagram as DE Erickson. He's on YouTube as eStrategy. He blogs at the really fabulous e-strategyblog.com. I am BL Ochman. I'm on Twitter as What's Next. I blog at What's Next Blog. I am on YouTube as What's Next Blog. I have a website at blochman.com. The show is beyondsocialmediashow.com. And on Twitter, we are at BS Media Show. You can find the podcast wherever you get your podcasts. And we're on iHeartRadio. We're on Audible, we're on Stitcher, Spotify, wherever you get podcasts, we're there, and we hope you'll subscribe and leave us a review.
Thanks for watching.
And we'll be back next week.